first time we put humans on this rocket.
We're going back to the moon because it's the next step in our journey to Mars.
We were always going to the moon.
Pushing ourselves to explore is just core to who we are. It's a part of being a human.
And liftoff. We shall return.
Continuing to test out every bit of Orion.
Coming back to Earth, 7 miles a second.
When humanity sets big goals, we can bring together genius from around the world.
You have the best people on planet Earth putting this vehicle together.
That's what's up. To innovate for the benefit of humanity and to inspire the world through discovery.
And here we go.
Welcome to Artemis Mission Control here at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. I'm Leah Cheshire Mustachio. Right now, the Artemis 2 crew and Mission Control are preparing to support today's Lunar Flyby, the first time we've sent humans around the moon in over 50 years.
Integrity, you can use the OEs and your HHP camera for the milestone words at the Apollo 13 record distance.
You'll notice that we pause every time we hear communications to and from the crew. They are the stars for today. This afternoon, the crew will have their closest approach of the moon and will surpass the record. That record just mentioned of the furthest humans have ever flown, set by the Apollo 13 astronauts in 1970. Spacecraft and at our Artemis 2 crew members. They have just completed their post-sleep period, during which they conduct any hygiene and cabin setup for the day. They also had a chance to eat breakfast before we got into our daily planning conference. The flight control team here in Mission Control Houston collecting information from all cons.
What's going on, Big Ron? Are you with us?
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good, man. I'm excited to see the dark side of the moon. Pretty big day for the United States in our space program, I think. Returning
I'll tell you
to
what,
the moon.
that was a great album.
Yeah, without a doubt. Let's see what do we have here. We've got the looks like 55 minutes. They're approaching the moon now, but 55 minutes, 46 seconds, I think, before they get there. So we've got some time to BS. And I also believe that we're waiting on a news conference from President Response.
Yes, that should be at the same time, about 1 o'clock.
So I'm kind of watching that too. And today's broadcast, folks, if you guys are watching, it's going to be a while. It's not going to be like a quick drive-by at 65 miles an hour down the highway. It's going to take a minute to get around that moon. But we should have some pretty impressive footage, wouldn't you think, Ron, with today's technology and with this flight around the moon?
You know, I'm really hoping so. I'm looking at what the Artemis 1 mission did when they initially did the flyby on the moon for the test footage that was unmanned, and I was kind of surprised they didn't put higher definition cameras on there. So I'm hoping that with the Artemis 2 flyby that we've got some good quality 4K or 8K video that we're going to be able to get broadcasted back.
Well, they've definitely got it on the exterior of the ship. If you look at the live broadcast there, the astronauts are good. They're doing whatever astronauts are doing in space, but you can see the moon approaching in the screen. That looks like pretty high definition video.
Well, we'll see once we get closer. It's also going to all depend on bit rate. I have noticed that the bit rate's been kind of low using the deep space satellites to try to get that stuff back. So we'll see what happens as we get closer.
Yeah, for sure. But should be a little interesting afternoon. Now we've got Corey and Frank that are going to be popping in and out as they can this afternoon. We've got Hawk. It looks like Hawk Wolf 223. Give us a howdy, y'all. How you doing, Hawk?
Good afternoon, Hawk. Welcome.
I think this White House, no, they're calling it a military news conference on Iran. So, Going to be interesting on that. A lot of stuff going on there that absolutely newsworthy. Hey guys, I'm actually going to get up and get a fresh drink. Let's listen into NASA while we do that.
Those communications between NASA astronaut Christina Cook and Canadian Space Agency astronaut and today's Capcom or capsule communicator, the one person here speaking with the crew right now, that is Jenny Gibbons. She is an Artemis 2 backup crew member here in Mission Control Houston. We are now 4 days, 18 hours, and 30 minutes into the flight of Orion for Artemis 2. The Artemis 2 crew inside Orion lifted off atop the Space Launch System rocket on Wednesday, April 1st from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Those 4 crew members are the first to live and work inside the Orion spacecraft, which they have named Integrity, and have been busy conducting meticulously timelined events. It was a beautiful ascent from Kennedy Space Center. One of those early events was the proximity operations demonstration, during which NASA astronaut Victor Glover, the Artemis 2 pilot, manually flew Orion after having just detached from the interim cryogenic propulsion stage as if they intended to dock. This was practice for future Artemis missions, during which astronauts in Orion will dock with the lunar lander that will take them to the surface of the moon. About 24 hours after launch, 25 hours actually, Orion then conducted TLI, the translunar injection burn. This 5-minute, 50-second burn committed Orion to departing high Earth orbit and set us up for today's flyby. That translunar injection burn also served as the spacecraft's deorbit burn. It slingshots Orion around the moon and sends the crew on a free return trajectory, with splashdown approximately 7:07 p.m. Central on Friday, April 10th. Last night on Flight Day 5, the crew entered the lunar sphere of influence, the point at which the pull of the moon's gravity will become stronger than the pull of Earth's. We've also been getting some great views inside the cabin of the crew members living daily life, from working out to eating, taking photos, and making memories together. But they've also been taking some beautiful views of our home planet and of the moon, and we expect many, many more of those following today's activities. These live views back inside the cabin of Orion, but before we get into flyby, let's take a minute to get reacquainted with our crew. Reed Wiseman is the Artemis 2 commander and a Baltimore native. He's been in space once before.
I think there was going to be some families heading into the viewing room today. If they end up showing up, could you just give us a heads up when they're there so we can just wave to them on the camera?
Absolutely.
And that was the voice of Reed Wiseman. He has been in space once before as a flight engineer.
If they don't come, you could just lie to us and tell us that they're there. That'd be great, thanks.
We'll keep that in mind too.
And
I'm sure they'll be here.
Wiseman also has a great sense of humor. He was aboard the International Space Station from May through November 2014 as part of Expedition 41. This was a 165-day mission during which he and his crewmates completed more than 300 science experiments in areas like human physiology, medicine, science, earth science, and astrophysics. They set a milestone for station science by completing a record 82 research hours in a single week. He also served as chief of NASA's astronaut office from December 2020 to November 2022, and here on Earth, he has 2 daughters. The Artemis 2 pilot is Victor Glover, selected as an astronaut in 2013, when at the time he was serving as a legislative fellow in the United States Senate. His first trip to space was in November 2020, when he launched as a pilot of NASA's SpaceX Crew 1 mission. That was the first operational mission of NASA's Commercial Crew Program, which resumed launching American rockets from American soil to the International Space Station since the end of the shuttle program. Victor is a U.S. Navy captain and naval aviator who served as a test pilot, racking up more than 3,500 flight hours in more than 40 different aircraft. He also became the first person to pilot Orion the other day when we saw the Prox Ops demonstration shortly after launch. He and his wife have 4 children. Mission Specialist Christina Cook is a native of Grand Rapids, Michigan. She was selected to the Astronaut Corps in 2013, the same class as Victor Glover. She served as flight engineer on the International Space Station from March 2019 to February 2020. During that time, Cook set a record for the longest single spaceflight by a woman with a total of 328 consecutive days in space. She also participated in the first ever all-female spacewalk with her friend and colleague, Jessica Meir, now living and working aboard the International Space Station yet again. Before becoming an astronaut, Christina helped build space science instruments and led scientific fieldwork in some of the most remote environments on the planet. Her hobbies include surfing, rock climbing, community service, yoga, travel, and photography. She is certainly getting a chance to do that. First-time flyer, Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen is flying to the moon as a mission specialist on the Artemis 2 mission. The London, Ontario native was selected as an astronaut in 2009. After that, he worked as Capcom at NASA's Mission Control Center here in Houston. Capcom stands for Capsule Communicator and is the single direct voice communicating with the astronauts in space. He also participated in training exercises like living on the ocean floor off the coast of Florida to simulate deep space exploration for 7 days. In 2017, he became the first Canadian to lead a NASA astronaut class, and he also enjoys getting out on a sailboat, rock climbing, and mountain biking. And he and his wife have 3 children.
Wow, they're not very talkative, are they?
No, not at all. Not right now.
As you can see, the crew members have dimmed the cabin lights inside Orion.
Okay. I guess that's good.
As they prepare for their lunar flyby, they'll be configuring the cabin as they'd like to have it to allow for proper positioning as they move about to and from the windows, taking photos of the moon. Dimming the lights also helps prevent reflections from inside Orion onto the windows. Ahead of this lunar flyby, let's dive in and explain what you can expect over the next several hours. The crew has about 6 hours allotted to make observations about the moon. Throughout the flyby, their activities have been precisely timelined. There are 5 blocks of time during which the crew will be observing the moon from Orion's windows. At any time, 2 members will be at the windows working in a pair. One crew member will be taking photos from window 2 with a blue shroud over the window. This can help prevent that glare or reflection from inside Orion. They have an 80 to 400 millimeter zoom lens to use. The other astronaut will be in window 3 using their portable computing device, you'll hear that referred to as PCD, to make annotations. Both of these crew members will make audio recordings of what they are seeing, and they'll wear headsets connected to those PCDs. Those audio recordings will be sent to the science team at a later date. We will not hear them live. The 2 crew members at the windows will swap roles and positions halfway through their timelined block. The other 2 crew members who won't be at the windows at that time will be serving in the background as support. One will be conducting the science sit reps, or situation reports. This is what we will hear live from the crew. They'll be calling down a few times each hour to discuss what they are observing. Those situation reports include how the crew is positioned, any missed targets, or anything unexpected they saw, lunar target descriptions, any hardware issues, and of course, their emotions and reactions as they fly by the moon. The other support crew member will take pictures of the astronauts at the windows and serve as camera support, providing new SD cards when needed. There's a 15-minute time frame between each observation block, during which the 2 support members switch places with the crew making observations.
Our hostess for the afternoon with this NASA person, her last name is Mustasha, or Mustache. Did you notice that?
I did not, but there's a great mustache song out there.
There's plenty of jokes with that one. Did that give you an indeed?
Both coming from Orion. They're on the left, the inside of the spacecraft, and on the right, a view of our moon, the destination for today.
It is a bit cramped in their Hawk if you look at the inside diameter of that ship, and given the amount of stuff they have crammed into it, it is quite tight. In fact, when they boarded the capsule, they had to step over the exercise gear. So if you see videos of them exercising, that's where the main hatch is to come into the capsule. And then the toilet takes up a large portion also, since it has to be completely enclosed. And we all know that they've already had bathroom issues on this flight, where it was in-op for, I think, the first day before they could do anything with it. And there was also talk of a helium leak, which is reminiscent from the launch pad and prior Artemis missions. So it seems to me that NASA still does have some figuring out to do with Artemis.
I mean, toilet issues, you can have that anywhere, right?
You can, but you figure for $38 million, the toilet would work correctly. The issue was with a fan and being able to vent urine overboard is where their issue was. Prior missions, not shuttle, but prior capsule missions, the toilet was basically just pee in a bag. And if you had to defecate, that was a whole different situation. The shuttle toilet worked a lot better, but it was, of course, a bigger item. And they had problems with the inside scooper breaking all the time. The Artemis system, if you look it up on YouTube, is an extremely complex system.
We're still talking about the toilet?
We are still talking about the toilet.
It does look pretty cramped, and it's hard to get the orientation like an up or down. I guess it almost doesn't matter there. You know, the ceiling's as good a place to hang out as the floor.
If I remember the layout correctly, the way that we're looking right now, they're technically hovering over the floor. Those are 2 seats that are collapsed on the floor right there. The door is to the right corner of the screen. That's where the exercise equipment is. So that would be where the main hatch is. And I think the lower right-hand corner may be where the toilet is.
Is it all?
I'm going to jump over and check our feed for presidential address. We might as well catch that.
Yeah, I'm listening to it right now.
Is it going?
It is live, my friend.
Forget the extraordinary risk taken by the warriors that we send into battle and the genius. I mean, think of it, having a contingency of 3 planes waiting because we think the sand is so bad that we probably won't be able to take off. And the planes really got bogged. This was not much of a runway. This was a farm, not a runway. It's a farm, but it did the trick. But to have a contingency as opposed to having to wait 2 days, can you imagine right in the middle? This was central. This was right, you would call it central casting if you were doing a movie for location. And probably the toughest area of Iran where we'd be sitting there. So these planes came in, those pilots came in so fast and so quick and got out of there. Everybody got aboard and just got 15-minute intervals. One load out, one load out, one load out. It happened. And we were watching and we said, that's amazing. It's in many ways, I was almost more impressed by the contingency that we had than the fact that, if we would have had a runway or decent soil, but it was an amazing thing. But we thank God for every single one of them and the talent. The genius is not even talent, it's genius. It's the whole ball game, every one of them. If you look at what we did with Maduro, we went into a military compound, a massive, with thousands and thousands of soldiers, and within a matter of minutes, and he lived behind iron doors. There were steel doors, broke them down so quickly. And within almost minutes, he was in the back of these planes. It was a similar group. Incredible. We have incredibly talented people. And if the time comes, we move heaven and earth to bring them home safely. We're going to bring our people home safely. I want to thank every member of the U.S. Armed Forces involved in these historic operations. They really were historic. It's just not something that's done. And you'd understand it. Not that they don't want to do it, but when you're going into areas, when you look at these helicopters, when you look at the amount of bullets and everything else that they took, when you go into these areas, you don't come out like we came out. God was watching us, I tell you. Well, it was the Easter, we were in the Easter territory, I guess, but God was watching us. It's amazing. Because when you look at the machinery, they took damage. It tells you, first thing I said is, these are unbelievable machines, how they flew back and not even much of a problem. But these two extraordinary rescues, because it was two, and as you probably know, we didn't talk about the first one for an hour. Then somebody leaked something, which we'll hopefully find that leaker. We're looking very hard to find that leaker. And talked about there's somebody missing. They basically said that we have one and there's somebody missing. Well, they didn't know there was somebody missing until this leaker gave the information. So whoever it was, we think we'll be able to find it out because we're going to go to the media company that released it, and we're going to say, national security, give it up or go to jail. And we know who, and you know who we're talking about, because some things you can't do. Because when they did that, all of a sudden, the entire country of Iran knew that there was a pilot that was somewhere on their land that was fighting for his life. And it also made it much more difficult for the pilots and for the people going in to search for him. All of a sudden, they know that there's somebody out there. They see all these planes coming in. It became a much more difficult operation because a leaker leaked that we have one, we've rescued one, but there's another one out there that we're trying to get. So actually, the country, Iran, put out a major notice, you all saw it, offering a very big award for anybody that captures the pilot. So in addition to a hostile, very talented, very good, very evil military, we had millions of people trying to get an award. So when you add that to it, but we have to find that leaker because that's a sick person. Probably didn't realize the extent of how bad it was. I can't imagine that the person did, but we're going to find out. It's national security, and the person that did the story will go to jail if he doesn't say, and that doesn't last long. And I think everybody would understand it. They put this mission at great risk. They put that man at great risk, and they put the hundreds of people that went in looking for him, because everyone now knows that we're going in. Over the past 37 days, America's armed forces have carried out more than 10,000 combat flights over Iran, unheard of, striking more than 13,000 targets. The F-15 we lost last week was the first manned aircraft downed by the enemy in this entire operation with thousands and thousands of flights. They got lucky. It was a lucky hit. You know, eventually you get lucky. but we got lucky too because we got both of them back. But it's a record that is unparalleled in the history of military air operations. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. It's such an honor to be involved with it. We were up late at night, and then we were waiting for those contingent planes to come in, and we say, come on, let's go, get in, because they're waiting out on this farm without a runway, with wet, crummy soil, sand, mostly sand, wet sand, and it eats planes alive. And we're waiting, and we're saying, I hope that one can land and take off. And they came in like magic, boom, 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 one after another. It was like genius. I'm so impressed by that. Because we were a little concerned. We said, boy, if they don't get in and get up fast, we're sitting in them. And that's called Iran Prime, right, General? That's where the whole bet is. And here we are sitting there waiting for a plane. But they came in so fast and so hard, and these guys knew exactly what. Let's go, come on, get in, let's go. Bwah. They came one right after another, not at the same time. They don't want to come at the same time. They had to come right after each other. They didn't have any room. There was barely any room to land. Tiny little patch of very wet earth and sand. So I'm so proud of the people that I have standing up here with me and many others that worked. I mean, so many. Steve Witkoff's over here. He's doing fantastically. Jared Kushner. But the people that are here, the job they did is amazing. And I think I'm going to introduce the head of the CIA, and he is a man he's central casting, okay? If we cast a movie, he's going to play the head of the CIA. He's one of the few. John Ratcliffe, he did a phenomenal job that night. He did something that I don't know if you want to talk about it. If you want, you can. I'm not sure you're supposed to. I'm not going to talk about it. But the CIA was very responsible for finding this little speck. It's like they used an expression on one of the shows. The general was talking about, it's like finding a needle in a haystack, finding this pilot. And the CIA was unbelievable. And you may, if you can, you'll talk. It might be classified, in which case I'd have to put him in jail if he talks about it. And I don't want to put him in jail. He doesn't deserve that. So, John, do you want to say a few words? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a privilege to be here with you today to share what we can about this exceptional mission and to recognize the ingenuity and bravery of those who executed it, as well as the leadership and resolve of the president who ordered it. One thing that has been clear to me in this role is that the flawless military operations that the Department of War is known for are hostage to flawless intelligence. We saw that in the skies over Iran in Operation Midnight Hammer last summer. We witnessed it in Venezuela during Operation Absolute Resolve. We've seen it against the cartels in the Western Hemisphere, and we're seeing it every day in Operation Epic Fury, including this mission to rescue an aviator buried deep behind enemy lines. Because it is the unique tradition of the U.S. Armed Forces that we leave no man or woman behind, this was a no-fail mission. That was the spirit in which the president put us to work, and we were determined not to let him down or our airmen down. As an agency, the CIA possesses unique capabilities that only the president can deploy. Some of these capabilities fall under covert action authorities. And because covert means exactly that, I'm not going to be able to tell you everything that you want to know. At the president's direction, we deployed both human assets and exquisite technologies that no other intelligence service in the world possesses to a daunting challenge, comparable to hunting for a single grain of sand in the middle of a desert. This was also a race against the clock, as it was critical that we locate the downed aviator as quickly as possible, while at the same time keeping our enemies misdirected. For that reason, in addition to the human and technical assets deployed by the president to find our airmen, CIA executed a deception campaign to confuse the Iranians who were desperately hunting for our airmen. On Saturday morning, we achieved our primary objective by finding and providing confirmation that one of America's best and bravest was alive and concealed in a mountain crevice, still invisible to the enemy, but not to the CIA. That confirmation was relayed by Secretary Hegseth to the president, and the operation quickly moved to the execution phase. Following the successful exfiltration on Saturday night, our intelligence reflects that the Iranians were embarrassed and ultimately humiliated by the success of this audacious rescue mission. When the president asked me to lead the CIA, he made it clear, get back to basics, no politics, no agendas, tackle the hardest problems, and execute the toughest missions. This president is about results. And now, that's what his CIA is about too. The professionals at the agency and at the Department of War deserve immense credit for their flawless execution during this daring mission. Their skill, creativity, and courage are unmatched on the battlefield wherever they step. But none of that matters. And all of that is wasted without a president with the political courage to put them into action. Mr. President, I've had the privilege of seeing you act with political courage in the best interest of the United States up close on a daily basis, and I'm grateful that this successful mission has given the American people a window into that as well. The Secretary and Chairman will tell you that our service members' confidence is boosted by a Commander-in-Chief who has their back the same way they have yours. And I know that the confidence of CIA's officers is boosted by the knowledge that their work is informing a president who's not afraid to make the hardest decisions when the stakes are highest. And to the American people, your confidence should be boosted by knowing that the security of the nation is in the hands of a president who's willing to take on problems that have confounded both sides of the political aisle for nearly half a century. It is an honor to serve under a leader who just proved that you can believe him when he says, no matter what, we will leave no one behind. We will come for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, John, thank you for the collaboration of the CIA as well. Incredible and ongoing partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Americans, and especially the brave warriors in our armed forces, over this Easter weekend, the United States military has once again proved why we possess the greatest fighting force the world has ever known. In two extraordinary combat search and rescue operations deep inside enemy territory in Iran, our warriors executed missions of breathtaking skill, courage, and precision. When our warriors are unleashed, as this president has allowed them to be, they are unstoppable. When American airmen were down behind enemy lines, our forces and our president did not hesitate. Special operators supported by elite air crews and intelligence professionals moved swiftly and decisively into treacherous mountain terrain under the constant threat of Iranian forces closing in. Ultimately, it was an impotent Iranian threat. And today, as the CIA director mentioned, Iran's military, and we know this, is embarrassed and humiliated, and they should be. Now, these are not routine operations. They were high-risk, high-stakes missions conducted in the heart of enemy territory. This was not just barely into Iran. This was deep into Iran, involving coordinated strikes to suppress threats, deception tactics to protect our teams, and full synchronization across air, ground, and special operations. The Iranians are still asking themselves right now, how did the Americans do this? One downed airman evaded capture for more than a day, scaling rugged ridges while hunted by the enemy. When he was finally able to activate his emergency transponder, his first message was simple, and it was powerful. He sent a message, God is good. In that moment of isolation and danger, his faith and fighting spirit shone through. You see, shot down on a Friday, Good Friday, hidden in a cave, a crevice, all of Saturday, and rescued on Sunday. Flown out of Iran as the sun was rising on Easter Sunday. A pilot reborn, all home and accounted for, a nation rejoicing. God is good. Despite incoming fire and unforgiving conditions, our troops brought every American home. No American lives were lost. We leave no man behind, and that is not luck. It's the result of unmatched training, superior technology, an unbreakable warrior ethos, and sheer American grit. Our special operators, pilots, and support crews performed with near perfection under fire, and they were lethal. Just ask any Iranian soldier who dared attempt to get anywhere near that pilot before or during that mission. Death from above. Our troops turned a potential tragedy into a resounding demonstration of American resolve and capability. That's what excellence in uniform looks like. But make no mistake about it, none of this would have been possible without the courageous leadership and ironclad determination of President Donald J. Trump. From the moment our airmen went down, President Trump made it clear we will leave no one behind. The first mission, the first of two, was an audacious daylight thunder run right up the middle. It was authorized in less than 2 hours from that pilot going down when we knew where he was. And it was authorized in the middle of the night because anybody that's worked for this man knows he's up in the middle of the night. Authorized immediately, without hesitation, audaciously. The second mission, as soon as we knew where that pilot was, and John was certainly helpful in that, also executed immediately. You know, I looked up at my screen when the final mission was complete inside our SCIF, our secure facility. And we have a running VTC, a running coordination cell. And the top of it read 45 hours and 56 minutes. For 45 hours and 56 minutes, we held that call open for coordination. From the moment our pilots went down, our mission was unblinking. The call never dropped. The meeting never stopped. The planning never ceased. The president demanded rapid, decisive action. He backed our military with the full weight of his resolve, refusing to let enemy propaganda or tactical setbacks deter us. His leadership ensured that every lethal and non-lethal resource was brought to bear, that our forces had the authorities and the support they needed to succeed. When the president says he has the backs of our warfighters, he means it. And it means a great deal, and it's a big difference on the battlefield. President Trump understands that peace through strength is not a slogan. It is a doctrine that saves American lives. His unwavering commitment to rebuilding our military and restoring the warrior spirit has paid dividends in missions just like this one. Under his command, America projects power with confidence and brings our people home with victory. And that continues today, by the way. Per the president's direction, today will be the largest volume of strikes since day one of this operation. Tomorrow, even more than today. And then Iran has a choice. Choose wisely, because this president does not play around. You can ask Soleimani, you can ask Maduro, you can ask Khomeini. To those heroes who planned and executed these rescues, your nation stands in awe. I stand in awe. The chairman stands in awe. We all stand in awe of your professionalism and bravery. We serve for you. You embody the very best of America. To the rescued airmen and their families, welcome home. Your courage and endurance, the quiet declaration of faith amid the storm, inspires us all. God is good every day. And to our adversaries watching from Tehran, let this be a clear message. The United States military will go anywhere, at any time, to protect our own and complete the mission. We execute with precision. We control the skies. You see, we flew for 7 hours in daylight over Iran to get the first pilot. And we flew 7 hours in the middle of the night to get the second. And Iran did nothing about it. We fight with honor, and under President Trump's leadership, we win. So God bless our troops, God bless President Trump, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. A note before I start, I know many of you want specific details in these briefings. We will share what we can, but I will retain what I must in the event that we have to go do this again sometime. And I cannot stress the importance, as the President said, around operational security. The Secretary and I will do a more detailed briefing tomorrow morning, and we look forward to sharing the details that we can. On Thursday, 2 April at 10:10 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:40 in the morning, local Iran time, the Joint Personnel Recovery Center, which handles the Central Command area of responsibility, declared an isolated personnel recovery event for a U.S. Air Force F-15E Strike Eagle, call sign Dude 44, which was down in hostile Iranian territory. The pilot and weapons system officer had both safely ejected and were isolated behind enemy lines. Following confirmation of active rescue beacons and on the direction of the Secretary and by order of the President, a rescue operation was launched with the stated purpose of bringing both Americans home safely. As the Secretary said, several hours later on the morning after positively locating the front seater, call sign Dude 44 Alpha, and aware of an aggressive ongoing search by the enemy, a U.S. Central Command plan was approved by the Secretary and the President. Shortly thereafter, a U.S. Air Force Combat Search and Rescue Task Force comprised of A-10 Warthogs in their Sandy role, and I'll describe what that is in a minute, HC-130 Combat King 2s, HH-60 Jolly Green 2 helicopters, and Air Force Special Warfare Airmen, a package comprised of combat rescue officers and pararescueman operators, audaciously penetrated enemy territory in broad daylight to find, fix, and recover Dude 44 Alpha from behind enemy lines. This was an incredibly dangerous mission, an incredibly dangerous undertaking, but a filled promise made to every American warfighter that you will not be left behind. We will always come find you, and we will always bring you home. Over the next hours, the Search and Rescue Task Force crossed the beach, entered into Iranian airspace, protected by a fighter strike package, and moved into the objective area, all under fire. En route, as some of you have seen on social media, the helicopters took gas off the C-130s and pressed onward and forward up into the objective area. While this was ongoing and out in front of them, the Sandy flight of A-10s and other remotely piloted aircraft, drones, and other tactical aircraft were violently suppressing and engaging the enemy in a close-in gunfight to keep them away from the front seater and allow the pickup force to get into the objective area. During this engagement, one of the Sandy aircraft, the one primarily responsible for communicating with the downed pilot, was hit by enemy fire. This pilot continued to fight, continued the mission, and then upon exit, flew his aircraft into another country and determined that the airplane was not landable. This was one of our A-10 Sandy aircraft. The pilot then made the decision to eject over friendly territory and was quickly and safely recovered and is doing fine. After picking up Dude 44 Alpha, the HH-60 Jolly Green fight was engaged by every single person in Iran who had a small arms weapon. And one of the aircraft, the trailing aircraft, took several hits. The crew sustained minor injury, and they are going to be fine. A note for those of you that do not know what a Sandy does. Named after the flight call sign that did this very mission in Vietnam, flying A-1 Sky Raiders and A-7 Corsairs, a Sandy has one mission: get to the survivor, bring the rescue force forward, and put themselves between that survivor on the ground and the enemy. They are committed to this. This is what they live for, and this is what they've trained for over many, many years. The A-10 force and the rescue force did a fantastic job rescuing Dude 44 Alpha. He was recovered Friday afternoon. As I said, and the nation needs to know this was an incredibly brave and courageous mission, and a testament to the courage, skill, and tenacity of the joint force and our leaders. And especially a daylight option, having the guts to try means so much to so many. Meanwhile, the backseater, as the president and the secretary have said, had continued to work and survive. Through the hours of daylight, Dude 44 Bravo, the backseater, evaded. Using every means available, the efforts of the United States military, the Central Intelligence Agency, and others were attempting to find and locate with precision Dude 44 Bravo, the backseater. A note on the backseater and the front seater. The single most important contributor to a successful rescue operation is the spirit of attack inside the heart of that downed aviator. Their will to survive, their will to evade, their will to recover is everything. In this case, the backseater's absolute commitment to surviving made much of our efforts possible. On Saturday, 4 April, after establishing positive communications with the backseater, we learned, as the president said, that he was injured and actively evading enemy forces. And thanks to our interagency partners, we were able to get eyes on his location and positively ID him. Throughout this entire time, the enemy force continued to search for 44 Bravo, and the joint force continued to strike them over and over and over again. Fighting off marginal weather in Iran and the enemy's search for a second time on Saturday, at the recommendation of the CENTCOM commander and at the approval of the secretary and the president, we launched a rescue task force to recover Dude 44 Bravo. Again, this came to the president and the secretary for approval, this time with a much larger force package based on the time that the enemy had to prepare to find 44 Bravo. Again, this force was protected by A-10 Warthogs using the Sandy call sign. And this force had one single mission: do everything they can to bring an American home. This meant having a plan, being prepared to execute that plan, and more importantly, being prepared for multiple simultaneous contingencies. And because of this force's professionalism, grit, and determination, fight off two enemies at the same time: the enemy searching for 44 Bravo and contingencies, which anyone who has done these types of missions knows we run into every single time. The force fought off both of those enemies incredibly well. During the period of darkness on Saturday, and as the secretary said, into Easter Sunday and into the daylight, the force fought its way in and rescued Dude 44 Bravo. They were protected overhead by an air armada, including tactical drones, strike aircraft, and others. The force fought through multiple simultaneous contingencies, something no other nation, no other military can do, and safely returned Dude 44 Bravo, the backseater, home, and all other Americans home as well. At midnight 12 local Eastern time, Easter Sunday, more than 50 hours after the start of this operation, the Joint Personnel Recovery Center declared Dude 44 Bravo, both the front and back seater, returned to friendly territory. The courage demonstrated by both the pilot and the weapons system officer while isolated and them invading the enemy cannot be overstated. Their grit and warfighting tenacity is a direct result of the absolute trust they have in our rescue forces, their training, and their will to survive and return. They always knew that we would be ordered to go get them, and they always knew that we would be coming to get them. These two operations reflect our nation's most sacred obligation to our military service members. We leave no one behind, bless you. It also perfectly captures the first truth of our special operations forces. that people are more important than hardware. That is the standard we live by. And the rescue forces that execute these missions operate under a clear motto: these things we do that others may live. Their actions were a direct embodiment of that commitment to others, and I could not be more proud of each and every one of them today. As the Secretary said to our enemies, this operation serves as a clear reminder of the capability and will of America's joint force. The United States of America will recover our warfighters anywhere in the world, under any conditions, when we want to. We will always bring overwhelming skill and firepower. To every member of the joint force, our interagency partners, the leadership at CENTCOM, and our leaders at the department and above, thank you. I'm proud of each and every one of you and thankful to our deployed forces and their families. And lastly, and most importantly, to Dude 44, welcome home. Job well done. Thank you.
Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And these two gentlemen have been, from day one, they've been perfecto. You know, I got to know General Kane in my first term because he was able to take out ISIS in 4 weeks instead of the 4-year projection that was given to me by other much lesser generals. I said, you know, if I ever do this again, that's going to be the head of my Joint Chiefs of Staff. And we worked it that way, didn't we? He's amazing. He took out ISIS. We defeated ISIS in 4 weeks. I was told it would take 4 years. I flew to Iraq to find out with the greatest equipment in the world, why would it take 4 years? And he told me, sir, it won't. It'll take 4 weeks and you'll have time left over. And that's exactly what happened. So he's great. And Pete, all I can say is that he was treated very unfairly. And now those same people that treated him unfairly, that fought against him, they called me up saying, what a great choice he was. They said, well, what happened during his nomination? What happened to you? I'm telling you, people that were not for him, senators, friends of mine, sir, I don't think you're doing the right thing. Now they're calling me up. What a choice. These two guys are fantastic. And John Ratcliffe was incredible. It was actually their genius that called us from, he was 40 miles away. And he said, you know, we're seeing something moving up in the mountain. This is at night. And they kept the camera on him for 45 minutes. He wasn't moving. And they said, you know, probably wrong, but we're seeing something moving. This is a vast mountain, vast, thick, with bushes, trees. He said, we see something moving 40 miles away. It was the head of a human being. I'm telling you, it's moving. And then all of a sudden, 45 minutes later, he moved a lot. He stood up. And they said, we have him. And that was really the beginning of something incredible. We had an idea where he was, but not specifically. That's a big mountain. So I want to thank the CIA, too. I don't think they get enough credit for the great job they've done. Yes, please. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for this great opportunity. Country, it has super army. You make a difference, Mr. President. Thank you for your greatest leadership.
Thank you.
I have 2 quick questions, Mr. President. What was your reaction when you learned that Kurdistan region had resumed exporting oil to the international market with your support as United States of America?
Well, I expected that. We've gotten along with the Kurds for a long time, so I expected that.
Another question, what would be your reaction if the Iranian people rise up against their regime during a ceasefire, Mr. President?
Well, they should do it. But again, the consequences are great. I mean, they were told if you protest, you will be shot immediately. You saw what happened to the young wrestler. He was a great champion, by the way. He was a great wrestler, one of the top in the world. And he and his 2 friends were hung. And all they did was say a little bit about liberty. They wanted liberty, and they were violently executed. But the number is up to probably 45,000.
Okay, let's get back to first. Any comments you want to make on that incredible mission there, Big Ron? I mean, you were a Navy aviator for 20 years.
Yeah, there's a lot of good information there. I think something to look at, talk about leakers that made their job a lot harder, and that brings me back to June of 1943, when a Democratic U.S. representative leaked information to the press about Japan having their depth charge set incorrectly. And when the press got a hold of that, so did Japanese intelligence, which incurred the loss of 10 submarines and over 800 American crew members for those subs. So that just kind of shows you the importance of keeping the press out of the loop when certain things like this are coming up. And people need to understand there's a need to know and a want to know. And you may want to know, but you don't need to know. Let us do what we've got to do first.
No, I agree. Loose lips sink ships. I don't understand this need for Democrats and the news media to be advised in advance of anything. I think that's ridiculous. Okay, we're approaching 1 minute and 18 seconds for the Apollo record. Now, Big Ron, is that Apollo record the furthest away humans been from the Earth? Is that where we're about to hit?
I think it's the furthest that humans have been from the Earth. And as we all know, this isn't going to be a direct lunar insertion. They're not going to actually fall into orbit around the moon. They're going to swing around the back side of it and then come back. So that's, I think, what a lot of people need to understand. That this is unlike Apollo, which did go into lunar orbit and orbit the moon for a little bit before they came back to Earth. This one's just going to be a go out and come back.
Orion itself has 330
But yet we will, I guess, mile-wise, this is the furthest away from planet Earth any human's been
than the Apollo spacecraft.
in 38 seconds.
Yeah, that is true.
For the Integrity crew aboard Orion to surpass the Apollo 13 record.
See what they say about it. It doesn't look like they're getting really close to the moon there. That's misleading watching that little that picture.
Oh, there's no depth of field reference since it's just the moon and the side of the ship, and due to the way cameras work, it's bleaching out what stars you might see. But
Integrity crew, on April 15th, 1970, during the Apollo 13 mission, 3 explorers set the record for the farthest distance humans have ever traveled from our home planet. At that time, over 55 years ago, Lovell, Swigert, and Hayes flew 248,655 statute miles away from Earth. Today, for all humanity, you're pushing beyond that frontier. Integrity, over to you.
From the cabin of Integrity here, as we surpass the furthest distance humans have ever traveled from planet Earth, we do so in honoring the extraordinary efforts and feats of our predecessors in human space exploration. We will continue our journey even further into space before Mother Earth succeeds in pulling us back to everything that we hold dear. But we most importantly choose this moment to challenge this generation and the next to make sure this record is not long-lived.
That was a motivating speech. We got Frank in here. Give me a second to get.
Thank you, Integrity, and congratulations
add
to
another
you and the
box
rest
for
of the
Frank.
Artemis 2 team.
Thank you, Houston. We have a couple more things we'd like to take this moment for. Our science team helped us out with a couple of relatively fresh craters on the moon that have not been previously named, and our crew would like to propose a couple of potential names for those items or those areas. And we spent a bit of time this morning looking out the window, and we're able to see them now, both with our naked eye and through the long lens. And so we feel this is a good time to send this down. And a special shout out to Kelsey for helping us with this. The first one we'd like to suggest is a named crater in honor of our great spacecraft integrity. And so if you were to look at Oriental on the far side and then draw a line straight up to Ohm on the far side, relatively in the middle is an unnamed crater, and we would like to suggest it be called Integrity in the future. And the second one, and especially meaningful for this crew, is a number of years ago we started this journey in our close-knit astronaut family, and we lost a loved one. And there's a feature in a really neat place on the moon, and it is on the near side, far side boundary. In fact, it's just on the near side of that boundary. And so at certain times of the moon's transit around Earth, we will be able to see this from Earth. And so we lost a loved one. Her name was Carol, the spouse of Reed, the mother of Katie and Ellie. And if you want to find this one, you look at Glushko, and it's just to the northwest of that, at the same latitude as Ohm, and it's a bright spot on the moon. And we would like to call it Carol, and you spell that C-A-R-R-O-L-L.
So I guess they're naming craters now.
Well, they're making suggestions to name craters, and I think he's trying to see if they'll name one of the craters after his late wife.
Yeah, you know they will. You know, there's a Canadian on board. You knew that? Did you know that?
I did, and some of the memes I'm seeing online are just hilarious. Somebody had gone as far as redrawing him in the picture of the NASA photos to look like one of the Canadian South Park characters. It's quite comical.
Well, I was in a...
Integrity and Carol Crater. Loud and clear. Thank you.
Well, I was in a Canadian space last night, and they were talking about the divide between Americans and Canada. And one of them said, well, you look at who's going to the moon. It's an American and a Canadian, and we're doing it together. And that's how much we are. No matter how we think we're separated, we're together because we're going to the moon together. I'm like, yeah. How much did Canada pay for this trip? Because it sounds like you guys are getting free rides on everything from defense to living in the Northern Hemisphere, the old Canadians. And this is just another example. We didn't need a Canadian to go to the moon. We just let them go so they can feel special. And then they turn around and act as if, well, you couldn't get there without us. Our guy went with you. You know, of course, we paid for everything. American taxpayers put this mission together, and we have to pay for a Canadian to go with us.
Well, you know, it's really
that's
easy
my
to have
opinion.
It's really easy to have an attitude when you got a nice cushy border wall called the United States.
Right. You don't have to pay any cost, right? All you can do is complain.
We provide a big majority of Canada's defense, and they keep pushing more and more social programs, but like we're seeing right now with NATO, there's going to come a point where some decisions are going to have to be made.
Their space program is a social program. We're paying for it. What's Canada doing for the U.S. space program? Right?
I think the only thing that I can honestly recall, just quickly thinking without looking it up, that the only thing Canada's ever done for the American space program is the Canadian arm on all the space shuttles. I think some spots on the International Space Station. Don't quote me on that. I could be 100% wrong. Maybe Canada's had more of a contribution. But just quick think. I mean, the only thing that comes to mind is the arm on the space shuttles.
Yeah, my point is that whatever it was, we paid for it. It's not like Canada's contributing anything other than putting somebody's dumb ass on this aircraft. So it's kind of honestly, it's kind of embarrassing.
Sounds good. We're doing the same down here, and you are maneuvering to your observation attitude.
All right, this is going to go on for 6 hours. I don't think the stream is going to go on for 6 hours. We're going to keep her on until we get some good pictures of the moon. But I'm going to go full screen on this big Ron, and try to catch up on a couple of emails here since there's no lot. Unless you have something you'd like to talk about, it didn't look like there's a whole lot going on at the moment.
Now, the only thing I can find on the interwebs that Canada has contributed is the iconic robotic specialized technology arm that was on the space shuttle. It's the highlight in the overview of what Canada's contributed to the U.S. space program.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Canada. We couldn't do it without you. We couldn't defend our shores without you. Our economy, you support us. Is that what you want us to hear? It's all a lie. Canada could evaporate and we wouldn't notice the difference. All right, I'm going to let you listen to NASA. Watch as they now you can tell that they're getting closer to the moon. You can see the perspective on it now. The moon's getting larger. So we should have some good video of the dark side of the moon here shortly.
We are 4 days, 19 hours, 31 minutes mission elapsed time of the flight of Artemis 2, our 4 astronauts aboard Orion. Today is our Lunar Flyby Day. The spacecraft is currently about 12,000 miles away from the moon, and you can keep up with the distance from Orion to the moon and Earth by visiting nasa.gov/track Artemis, or you can just stay with us here because we're going to be telling you throughout the day. They are currently 248,834 miles away from planet Earth. Coming up next on the crew's timeline today will be their cabin configuration portion. You heard some calls down to Science Officer Dr. Kelsey Young earlier about how they have configured the cabin so far. This is just a little bit more of timelined activity for them if they need to further do so. On flight day 3, the crew had time on their schedule allotted for configuring the spacecraft cabin for how they intended to arrange it today. Of course, they had to take down that configuration for another test yesterday of their Orion Crew Survival System suits. But configuring it on flight day 3 allows them the opportunity to get a chance to see what works for them now that they are in the microgravity environment.
And I'd like to welcome everybody to the show that's following us and watching right now. Please remember that the chat is open and we're taking your comments live on stage. Give Joe Lanou at Joe Lanou a follow and at Big Ron _ a follow. We'd love to have you guys and hear your comments.
Again, the crew is about to begin their cabin configuration portion of their timeline, though they have been working that already, as well as potentially during their post-sleep period this morning. The official lunar flyby observations are slated to begin in just about 40 minutes. That's when we'll have the crew at the windows photographing the moon, as well as making calls down about what they are seeing. Again, we are live here in Artemis Mission Control for the duration of the flyby. Currently, the Orbit 1 flight control team is on console. This room is staffed 24/7 from the time before the astronauts step foot on the rocket until the time they are splashed down and are safely recovered in the Pacific Ocean on flight day 10. Again, this is Artemis Mission Control here in Houston. We are now 11,777 miles away from the moon. We did pass the Apollo 13 record of farthest humans away from Earth at 12:57 p.m. Central Time, 1:57 p.m. Eastern Time. That distance, 248,655 statute miles from the Earth, continuing to be exceeded by the crew. They will reach their farthest distance from the Earth around 6:07 p.m. Central Time. At that time, they will be in an LOS, or a loss of signal, with us on Earth, as they'll be flying behind the moon. As the crew gets into their cabin configuration preparations, we are joined by Dr. Sarah Noble, the Artemis Lunar Science Lead. Thanks for joining us here today.
Yeah, it's quite a day.
Yeah, we are very excited. I can only imagine how you guys are doing over there. So tell me a little bit about yourself and what your role is for Artemis 2.
Sure. So I'm the Artemis Lunar Science Lead, so over the entire campaign, and my job is basically to make sure that as we have this big adventure back to the moon, we actually learn new things about the moon.
Fascinating. So why is the moon such an important destination today?
Yeah, so the moon is a pretty amazing place. It is a great place to learn about basic fundamental processes that happen on like all the planets, like cratering and volcanology. And also it is, part of our Earth-Moon system. And, the Earth recycles its rocks pretty well, right, through plate tectonics and weathering and whatever. Most of the rocks on the Earth are geologically young. But on the moon, we have the entire record that goes back 4.5 billion years since we formed. And so if we really want to learn about what was happening in that period, like the moon is really the only place we can go.
We're also thinking about going back to the moon, and we want to go to the lunar South Pole. So what makes that such an interesting destination?
Yeah, the South Pole is cool, right? It's far away from the places we went during Apollo. It's different kinds of rocks there, some of the oldest rocks on the moon. It's also a place where we think there might be resources like water. There are craters that really never can see the sun because of the low sun angles there, and they get very cold. And we think that water and other things can build up in those craters, and so we're very interested to see what that might do for us.
I'm very interested as well. So for some of our viewers who might be new to this, what does lunar science look like during an Artemis mission?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting for us as we have sort of built this from scratch to try to understand how we can best use the crew to support our science. And so, we've developed a system. We've got a team in place. We've got a back room here in this building called the SIR, the Science Evaluation Room. And there's a back room to that back room over in another building here at Johnson Space Center where we've got our teams of scientists working really hard. They're actually speaking to this room through our science officer. This is now the first time we've ever had a science officer in flight control room. So we're pretty excited about that. So we have a really voice out and up to the crew.
I know it's been so exciting to hear Dr. Kelsey Young speaking directly with the crew today, now so close to the moon. And we have a live view here of the science operation or the science evaluation room. So this is where the majority of your team is today. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. This is a big chunk of our scientists. You can see them in there now working hard, trying to get ready for the day. And then again, there's a second room where we have a lot of our data folks where the data will first come down and they'll sort of sift through the data and get it ready for this team to take.
What's the mood like right now in the SIR?
It is, I would say, giddy. I think we've worked very hard for this. They have done simulation after simulation. They have worked really hard over the last couple of years to get ready for this moment. And I think everybody's just really excited to see, even already we've had some descriptions from the crew coming down, and it's so great to see their joy and our joy, our love for the moon come through.
Yes, we are in for a real treat today if it's been anything like their observations the past couple of days. So how are the lunar science teams using this test flight to prepare for future missions to the moon?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the way that we are building our foundation for the future, from everything from, how do you train a crew to be a geologist, right? And so, working through that, getting them classroom training, field training, building the science team, building these physical rooms that we are in, designing the software that the teams are using, and then, figuring out what happens to that data. They're going to take this data and it's going to come down, and how do we get it out to not only our team, but out to the world and the rest of the science community?
Yeah, that's a great point, because when you hear these crew members talk, you would never know that they're not geologists. Your team has trained them so well.
They have been very good students.
Who can blame them? It's a pretty great topic. One more question for you. How does the science that we're doing on Artemis help support long-term exploration and including our sustained presence on the moon?
Yeah, you know what? We have a saying in the Science Mission Directorate that science enables exploration and exploration enables science, right? So you need the scientists because we are the ones who are the experts in, landing site and doing analysis of landing site and making sure we can find a good place to land, to understanding the properties of the soil so we can, design our systems to manage that, understanding the radiation environment, keeping our astronauts safe, all of these things, right? But, in return, you provide us with opportunities where now we're going to be able to collect this data and collect samples and deploy our instruments and all of that. So it's a symbiotic relationship.
That makes perfect sense. Well, Dr. Sarah Noble, Artemis Lunar Science Lead, thank you so much for joining us here today. Best of luck to you and your team, and I hope that you get to enjoy today too.
Thank you so much.
We are now Getting closer and closer to our lunar neighbor, this live view coming from the Orion spacecraft and a camera mounted on one of its solar array wings.
Houston, integrity for camera serial numbers.
Ready to copy.
Hey Jenny, these are card numbers for the various positions. For the long lens on the D5, we will have individual cards. Victor's 1008, Jeremy 1019, Reed 1012, myself 1015. For the Z9, we will have one card that is dedicated for today, serial number 1007. For the cabin camera D5, we will have one dedicated card for today, serial number 1022.
All right, Christina, we copy all. Thank you.
We just realized that we have Earth out window 1 and Moon out window 2. And Earth out window 4 and Moon out window 3. And it gives you the best idea of scale we have had yet. The Moon is about 3 to 4 times the size of the Earth, and it is almost full, and the Earth is just a small crescent out there. It's magnificent. I got a picture of it with the wide lens. Such a majestic view out here.
Amaze, amaze, amaze. Thank you, Reed.
Those are some of the communications we're excited most about today. Commander Reed Wiseman calling down their view right now. Obviously a little bit different than what we can see from the solar array camera. They are looking through the windows of the Orion spacecraft, able to see at the same time Earth and the Moon. You also heard NASA astronaut Christina Cook calling down some of the cameras that they will be using today. The crew is in that cabin configuration portion, and we expect the Lunar Flyby observation period to start just about 20 minutes. Checking in on Orion's distance and speed, they are currently traveling 1,071 miles per hour, 249,159 miles away from Earth, 11,293 miles away from the moon, and continuing to grow closer. At closest approach to the moon today, the spacecraft will be just about 4,070 miles away from the lunar surface. This will be during our loss of signal with the crew as they travel behind the moon, and we will await their return to get the official number for you for how close they come to our lunar neighbor. Inside the cabin today, the lunar targeting package is the primary tool guiding the crew observations and consists of two key components. The Lunar Geography Review helped the astronauts study major lunar features in advance and help learn how to orient themselves during the flyby. Because, of course, the moon is not actually labeled like it appears here when we look at this map. The Lunar Targeting Plan provides a detailed timeline of observation targets, background science context, and specific instructions for the pictures the crew should take, as well as the verbal descriptions that will be helpful to the science team reviewing them later. This is a screenshot from their lunar targeting package and a screenshot specifically of that lunar.
For attitude.
Go ahead.
Hey, Jenny. Understanding we are in final attitude now for the lunar flyby, would it be possible to pitch the vehicle down 5 degrees? That would allow us to get the D5 long lens flush and have the least amount of window distortion.
We're checking.
That call from Christina Cook, NASA astronaut and mission specialist on Artemis 2.
Copy.
The Orion spacecraft is positioned in a specific attitude to allow the crew to best see the moon outside of their windows today for this imaging opportunity. That call was a request for a potential attitude shift just slightly, another 5 degrees, to give them a better view and to give them a better opportunity to use their long lens camera. They'll also be using that lunar targeting package we were discussing. I am following along with that real time, so I'll be able to share with you exactly what targets the crew is looking at and when. They also trained with a lunar science passport. It's a little reference guide used on Earth to reinforce recognition of key lunar features. It is not on the flight, but it was a significant study tool for the crew to get them ready for launch. The apparent size of the moon will change throughout the flyby, and it'll appear roughly like a basketball held at arm's length at the crew's closest approach. That reinforces the need for careful planning and practiced observation techniques.
Houston, integrity for timeline.
Go ahead.
Hey, Jenny, just to make absolutely sure that we start observations when expected, we are showing in Artemis that observation time starts in about 15 minutes, and in LTP that our first target, discussion 1, starts in about 29 minutes. Can you confirm you'd like us to start discussion 1 in 29 minutes at 1900 GMT?
Christina, we are tracking that discussion 1 should start at 18:45. That's 15 minutes from now.
Okay, copy all. It may be a granularity issue with LTP, but understand that we start that observation in 15 minutes, and I bet when we get there, the green line in LTP will match the start of the white band for discussion 1. I think it's just a matter of the labeling and the granularity. Thanks for confirming.
Copy, and we'll look into that a little bit more on our side as well. Christina, can you verify for us that your green line is moving on the timeline page of your LTP?
Affirm. Jenny, I do think we're good. Looking closer, I see the labels are just not aligned with start or end times of the white visible bands. It fully makes sense now, so I think we are all set. We'll look forward to starting some observations in about 13 minutes.
Copy. Thanks, Christina.
As you heard discussed, we are expecting the crew's observation time period to start in about 10 minutes. First, they'll be conducting a warm-up, warming up to their science observations of the moon. They'll be discussing with each other, helping each other orient using the major landmarks that they've studied, asking what is familiar.
If we roll left, port 5 degrees, that would get the moon closer to the left side of window 2.
Copy, Victor. We'd like to know if it's pitch and roll or one or the other.
Jenny, we actually thought you already put the pitch in. Had the pitch been put in already?
No, we need a little while longer to talk about it.
So, Jenny, I guess what's happening is just as our orbit's changing, where it is in the window is changing. So maybe these fancy little adjustments aren't worth it. It's going to continue to move in the window. Or is the spacecraft going to keep the moon at the same point of the window if we adjust the attitude? I assume the previous.
Right now, we are pointing the center of the window to the center of the moon with 2 degrees of deadband.
The conversation you hear happening now between the astronauts aboard Orion and Artemis Mission Control here at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. They're in the center of your screen, seated at the CAPCOM, or Capsule Communicator Console. That's Jenny Gibbons, Canadian Space Agency astronaut and Artemis II backup. She was also the lead CAPCOM for Expedition 63 aboard the International Space Station. The crew is requesting some attitude changes to the spacecraft to allow them to better image the moon, our priority for today. Of course, those have to be discussed on the ground before they are put into work aboard the spacecraft, so the team is taking some time to do so. You also heard Gibbons reference that we are in two deadbands. Deadbands are essentially keeping us in the lane in which we're traveling. If you're familiar with lane assist in your car, very similar in this case. We are now 10,870 miles away from the moon, traveling 1,066 miles per hour and 249,390 miles away from Earth. Again, we recently surpassed the Apollo 13 distance record of farthest humans have ever traveled. And upon calling down some words during that milestone, Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen noting that he hopes that this record that they are setting today is soon broken by future explorers. This is Artemis Mission Control. We are standing by for the beginning of Lunar Flyby. Expecting that to start in just a few minutes when the crew will begin a warm-up discussion, preparing for the day. They will be capturing images along while discussing what they find familiar about the moon and what looks unexpected to them. Again, just minutes away from the official start of Lunar Flyby, or when it is timelined for the crew. We are currently 10,726 miles away from the moon. This view on the left side of your screen coming from the camera on one of Orion's solar arrays. Other conversation points while the crew are getting ready for their flyby today. They'll be looking to orient themselves using major landmarks and annotating their observations along with their discussion. They'll have 10 minutes for that warm-up discussion.
Houston integrity. We have two folks at the window deep in discussion talking about all of the awesome features that they're seeing. We just had had a huge moment realizing that Hertzsprung is about the same size as our incredible Oriental. We're really excited about this target that's kind of new to us. We're orienting on things like how we talk about albedo, finding some of the prevalent things that we're used to from all of our training, and just overall taking in this view. We also are noticing that the moon is still getting noticeably bigger as we go, even when you're watching it continuously. It's great to see these two guys get warmed up.
We love the report, Christina. Thanks. And you nailed it on why we added Hertzsprung. As you'll see in the prompts, we're looking for comparisons to the comparatively much older Hertzsprung compared to the younger Oriental. Great words.
This is Artemis Mission Control. That was the voice of Dr. Kelsey Young speaking with the astronauts aboard Orion as they begin their observation period and lunar flyby. NASA astronaut Christina Cook reporting their view of Hertzsprung Basin. The team here is looking for centered images of the basin at a full zoom, and they're hoping that the astronauts can image and describe the inner and outer rings. This is considered a degraded basin with a floor, rings, and ejecta compared to a younger Oriental basin. We spoke earlier with Julian Gross, the Artemis curation lead, about some of the terms we will hear the crew use today. One of those just called out, that's albedo, looking at surface brightness, or the amount of light a surface reflects. A few more terms that we hope to hear today during the crew's sit-reps or situation reports include embaying. This refers to one feature that surrounds another. That usually is a higher relief feature.
Houston Integrity, one report from the crew at the windows. We can actually see the moon and Earth at the same time right now. It's interesting because the Earth looks way brighter, so the Earth itself seems to have a much higher albedo than the moon. We think this is independent of our eyes focusing because, of course, the Earth is much smaller than the moon in our view. So you could think that your eyes focus for the darker sky, and that it means that it only has apparent brightness more than the moon. But since we're seeing both in the same view, we do think that this can be inferred as the Earth as a whole has a higher albedo.
Welcome to those of you that are just joining us. You guys were here earlier in the show. You remember me talking about cameras and camera views from the original Artemis mission of the unmanned flyby. This is a prime example. They're talking about being able to see the moon and the Earth in the same video or the same picture, but yet we're not getting those pictures. NASA's got us stuck on a single video link from one of the solar panels on the outside of Artemis 2. This goes back to where I really wish they would have done a better job planning for video and picture. We both know SpaceX would have had 50 different high-definition views of this. For some reason, NASA can't seem to do the same thing.
Another one we expect to hear
Definitely
is
a learning
Monterey.
experience.
These are dark regions paved or filled by volcanic deposits.
Feel free to leave your comments in the chat. We'll go ahead and answer those and post those up on the screen.
Again, we are live in Artemis Mission Control, but on the right side of your screen, that is the Science Evaluation Room. Team members who have been preparing for this day for years. The crew has significantly darkened the cabin of Orion. This allows them better views outside the windows and fewer reflections from inside. They reported being able to see the moon and the Earth out the same window at this time. We are really hopeful to get those photos. Right now, this view on the left side of your screen coming from a camera mounted on one of the solar array wings on Orion outside the spacecraft. The crew is equipped with 80 to 400 millimeter zoom lenses. The team continues their warm-up discussion. I should say the crew members aboard Orion continue their warm-up discussion. However, they are about to be prompted to move on to discussion number 2, which is near side and far side. Some of the things that they are looking to capture, the ground has prompted them to photograph anything that stands out to them and to compare the near side versus the far side mare in color, albedo, topography, and texture. They also want the crew to compare the appearance of rayed craters in the near side mare versus in the far side highlands. Of course, a reminder that some of the items that the crew, or some of the landmarks the crew are seeing today, is the first time that humans have ever laid eyes on those portions of the moon. In the targeting package, there are a few reminders of the crew. For the crew, there are time-sensitive observation reminders and science sit rep reminders.
Integrity. We have a sit rep. The targets that are being discussed right now, it's the far side, near side comparison, and hearing some great discussion of browns and greens in the Aristarchus Plateau and how those disappear as you go toward the North Pole, and then over to the far side, you lose the color. You've got Jeremy in window 2, Reed in window 1, having a great discussion. Christina's under window, I'm sorry, Reed is in window 3. Christina's under window 1, documenting the discussion. And we've got the lights completely off in the cabin. There are some LEDs that we cannot put out that do provide some light scatter. But we have all of the internal lights off. And are letting our eyes adjust as best we can. The window 4 view, you only get about a third of the moon. Tycho is going to go over the horizon soon, and you can see Aristarchus, and then you start to lose the view as you go to the west in Oceanus and Procellarum. So far, the team is on the plan, and the long lens is being put to good use, and recordings are being made, and internal documentation of the configuration and the observations is ongoing. Science, do you have any questions for us at this time?
Integrity Science. Victor, very glad that you provided the first formal science sit rep, as these were indeed your idea. One follow-up question, any relationship between those browns and greens you described? Do you see them blending into one another, and do you see any topography associated with either color?
I don't want to bother the window team. I just heard that, overheard that, and so I'm sorry I don't have that detail yet. I will eavesdrop and see if I can pick that up. I will try to answer that at some point. I also heard a comparison of the albedo in Aristarchus, that crater, the very high albedo spot you can see on the near side. There is a feature called, I believe, Burgess alpha that is equally or maybe higher albedo. I apologize for the gaps. I'm trying to listen and talk at the same time, but I will try to get some more information to correlate those colors from Aristarchus for you.
Understood, Victor, and good call to not bug the window team. Really like the brightness comparisons to Burgess A. Really helpful for the science team. Keep them coming. Thanks.
I also heard a discussion about the albedo of Grimaldi being a 10, and how many of us, when we were a little further away, saw that as the darkest albedo, and that the bigger Mare off to the west, sorry, to the east was still dark, but maybe a 7-8. We still think that, but you are seeing color variation, albedo variation inside of Grimaldi as well, and that even on the west side, there's still a very dark part of it. But it is still the darkest. It is just not as uniform as it looked when we were farther away. We're starting to differentiate the striations of albedo inside of Grimaldi.
Copy all, Victor, and you read our mind. Superlatives like darkest, biggest are really, really helpful for us, so keep those coming.
I love how they're going out of their way to use extremely big words.
As we were just mentioning, the crew is slated to perform these science sit reps. They are prompted to do so by an icon in their lunar targeting plan. That one coming down from NASA astronaut and pilot of Artemis 2, Victor Glover. As we discussed, the Capcom is usually the only person in the room speaking with the crew, the capsule communicator. However, today, the science officer, Dr. Kelsey Young, she is the Artemis Science Flight Operations Lead, is speaking with the crew during the flyby to ask any questions that the team may have. To her right is Trevor Graff. He is one of 3 science officers. Those would be Kelsey Young, Trevor Graff, and Angela Garcia, who will also join us later for an interview.
And Houston Integrity Science Integrity was able to get a view out of window 1, which is a beautiful view. I can see the entire moon that they're looking at. We left the T-shirt up there, so I was kind of peeking through the opening in the makeshift shroud there. And once I was able to get two eyes on it, what jumped out at me was Vavilov. It's just peeking out of the Terminator. It's clear of the Terminator now, but it just really jumps out because it's still got the low light, the low sun angle. And so where the, Vavilov has that impact over the top of another crater, where the two
I was definitely expecting a much more or a much longer delay in the comms also. I was kind of expecting close to 30 seconds, but it seems like it's almost instant. I don't know if maybe they found a way to boost bit rate from the deep space relay, or if it's just the way things are going to be from now on with technology. But I still stand by what I said earlier about the cameras, where we're getting just this trashy feed from one of the low resolution cameras on a solar array versus we're hearing that they have these phenomenal full color high def 4K and 8K pictures coming from inside, where we should be getting those transmitted also. That was my big beef with Artemis 1 or Artemis when it originally made its initial flyby the moon for the first mission, where we have just horrible quality pictures, as if this was a mission being run by SpaceX. We would have probably had 50 different views, all in 8K, being streamed. So NASA really definitely needs to step up its game.
Those calls coming from NASA astronaut Victor Glover. As we discussed, the crew is working in pairs at the windows. Right now, taking photos are Commander Reed Wiseman and Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen. Serving as their support team are pilot Victor Glover and Mission Specialist Christina Cook. You're hearing those calls from Victor Glover as he is on that support team, and he is tasked with providing the science sit reps, while the two crew photographing and making annotations of the moon are in Windows 2 and 3. Windows 1 and 4 are available for the support crew to fly up to, obviously look at the moon themselves, and provide these science situational reports. The view on your screen is part of the lunar targeting package, and it's something that the crew can reference as they are flying by. But this is an animation.
Okay, I've been watching, and it looks like we're in the observation period. Is that right?
Never mention Oriental. Oriental is a major feature that the team is interested in today, and it's known as the Grand Canyon of the Moon. Until this mission, the Oriental Basin had never been seen in sunlight by human eyes. Oriental Basin and its surrounding ejecta could fit within a straight line distance from NASA's Johnson Space Center, where we are at today, to Kennedy Space Center.
We're still in somewhat of a setup sequence, Joe, where they're setting up the cameras. They are doing some observations, but like I was commenting earlier, I don't know if you heard it or not, but it seems to be the only feed we're getting is from that one solar array black and white or light colored camera with low resolution. We're not getting anything on the high end. They're talking about being able to see greens and browns and everything else. I've even talked a couple of times about being able to see the Earth and the moon in the exact same window, but we're getting none of those shots whatsoever being to us. In fact, the video that you see in the background of the moon is actually being taken from a telescope on the Earth. So I'm kind of surprised. Kind of like I commented earlier with NASA not giving us the good high quality pictures on the original Artemis mission. And we're seeing to get the exact repeat on Artemis 2.
The Artemis real-time orbit website that you can also access at any time by visiting nasa.gov/track-Artemis, showing us that we are now.
Let's turn down Miss Mustache. She's not really saying anything I want to hear at this point. You know what? I'm pretty disappointed, actually. This doesn't bolster the people that want to combat that the first moon landing was filmed in Burbank. I mean, I get bit rate and all this, but you can't give us live pictures when you fly around the moon and see things that humans haven't seen for the first time. I got to listen to astronauts talk about it in highbrow terms.
No, I completely agree with what you're saying. I was expecting this after all the pushback that NASA got on the original unmanned Artemis mission, of how there was zero video or pictures that were really sent back. Here we are again, having to
It will get a narrative from people looking out of a window. I mean, this is it's almost a seriously. I don't understand it. Hawk says it's 1.4 seconds one way, 2.6 to 2.8 round trip for radio signals. He thought it was 4 to 5. Wrong. Radio travels at light speed.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I know you and I were discussing earlier that I thought it was going to be closer to the 20-second range, but given the fact they have the deep satellite relays now, it's probably definitely helping that out a lot.
Yeah, because you've got a pickup time, and then you got to retransmit on a retrans. That's what they're having to do, right? They're having to hit satellites in space and have that signal rebroadcasted back to Earth to pick up in Houston.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, they're using the deep space relay system, so they'll transmit to that, and then that will transmit back to Houston.
Hey, hang on, let's go back. What
forth.
do we got going on here? We got a dark screen that said something was interfering with their photography. Were they trying to show us like what the moon looks like? Let me turn this page back up. Or were they showing us the interior of the spaceship again?
I'm not sure. They've got 2 windows blacked out, and they've got all the lights off on the inside. 2 windows are dedicated observation windows, and then there's, I think, 1 or 2 windows that are allowed for the scientist observers.
I was monitoring. I wasn't in front of it, but I was monitoring. I was listening to it, and that's as good as you're going to get because you're not going to see anything. You just have to listen to these guys talk about the reflect. What is it? Albedo.
Yeah, there's a lot of libido stuff going on there.
Discussing the crew members are serving on teams. The first team being Commander Reed Wiseman and mission specialist Jeremy.
Bro, they're all on one team. They're in a closet right now. It's not like there's a real distinction. Some people can get to the window and some people can't.
And the Earth in the same view, and we are looking forward to seeing the moon and the Earth in the same view as well. That Earth set coming up in just a few hours.
She said just a few hours?
While Wiseman and Hansen are at the windows.
Yeah, they're going to switch back and forth, but they're only going to have a short period of observation time.
No, she said we would have the views of the Earth and the moon in the same frame in some hours. So maybe they're sending it back.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're going to transmit it back, but you would still figure in the 21st century. I mean, a prime example is on launch. The launch videos that we got live from NASA were all bitty and grainy and just horrible pictures versus SpaceX are super high definition 8K videos on launch. You would figure that those 2 companies being as close as they are, literally within a mile of each other, and at Kennedy Space Center would be able to share some of the technology.
Now this rocket is a Boeing rocket, right?
Yes, this is Boeing. This is made by Boeing. This is the same one that they had to send back unmanned.
I read somewhere that Boeing they've asked SpaceX to give them a price to finish out the Artemis.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was true. I haven't done any research on that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
You're right. When he launched the Tesla in space with a spaceman on board, I mean, that was about as clear a picture you get of anything. It was pretty impressive.
You know, the one thing that did surprise me about Elon when he launched the first Falcon Heavy, which is what that was, I actually went down to Kennedy Space Center to watch that. He didn't find a way to hook the camera up to the Tesla battery so that it would continue to transmit longer.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Well, the Tesla may have not had a battery in it. To be honest,
that's a possibility.
I mean, you take it into space, weight's an issue. Plus, it's lithium. I mean, you were to have a little issue, it'd be a shame to blow your rocket up because your car caught on fire.
True story. Funny bit of trivia though. Elon Musk put a copy of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in the glove compartment.
They said that this come up in a space. Somebody was talking about where it's at. And I looked it up, and I can't remember where it's at, but it's like heading out towards Jupiter. Or it's gone around the sun a couple of times, and then it's going to head out towards Jupiter into the like I think it's supposed to hit deep space, like in 2040 or something, 2050.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the orbital trajectory on that. I know it was initially made to go out to Mars and back, and it's done that a couple of times.
You know what? I may look that up. It's not like I mean, they're talking about the. I'm watching the audio run. He's describing what he's seeing, but I mean, I'm not real impressed with that.
No, it's almost like we got better footage from Apollo. And that footage was on a carrier signal.
Okay, let's talk about something interesting. This is the Tesla Roadster. Let me bring it up higher, bigger. Okay, do you see the Roadster down here? Let me put my pointer on it.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to do an outside.
I can zoom in.
Outside orbit of Mars right there.
Well, I want to be on the Roadster. There we go.
Yeah, its orbit keeps it inside the Kuiper Belt.
So the Kuiper Belt is all the little dots on the outside of what does it look like? Mars, pretty much Mars and Venus and Earth being the outer perimeter.
Yeah, the Kuiper Belt's that giant area of asteroids that you see are the small dots around there.
Right.
That's composed of asteroids and comets. So the Roadster is going to stay inside the Kuiper Belt. It swings high outside of Mars, and then swings around Venus back in towards the orbital plane of the Earth, and then back.
Yeah,
out.
we can see it. We can see its orbit there. It actually kind of comes close to Earth-ish. There. At some point, it does anyway. But the talking about that, people talk about space travel, and we'll be able to zip around. Elon even talks about it. But what do you think their proposal is to get through all these rocks? I mean, you're traveling at the speed of close to the speed of light, and you hit a golf ball sized piece of rock. That could be a problem.
Well, those rocks aren't as close together as what it looks like on the picture. They're quite spaced apart. We send stuff outside of those. We've already gotten a satellite around Pluto, multiple satellites to Saturn and Jupiter.
Yeah, and what was it, Voyager 1 and 2 that went in that exited the solar system? I mean, I know we've been through there, but I mean, traveling at the speed of light, how do you know what your path is?
Once we get to be able to have that technology, I'm sure we'll be able to plan for that kind of stuff ahead of time.
So they say in this Roadster, I believe, let's see, they won't tell us really anything about it. Oh, hang on, we can look at it this way too. Check this out, man. This is pretty interactive. I'm not upset with it. Not that that matters to me. I guess space is the same way, either way you look at it. Maybe this is a better way to look at it. Can you see that better? See Jupiter out there? So the Roadster, I mean, it's going to be out there forever, right? You back with us, Big Ron?
Yeah, I mean, it's in such a wide orbit, it's not going to decay, so to speak, like you would expect if something was orbiting the Earth. It'll have gravitational interference from Venus and Mars and the Earth and other things out there, but I don't foresee it crashing back into the Earth. It may.
What do you think UV rays and things will do to the automobile body over time?
I'm sure it'll be bleached. It'll eventually, you'll have paint come apart. I'm sure the seats are already bleached white. The windows are probably already cracking. The tires have probably already started to rot off. Not to mention the extreme cold and the extreme heat that you have out there in certain places.
So over time, it could just be some parts floating through at the same orbit.
Mostly, it's still attached to the lower stage, if I remember correctly. So the whole thing is gonna, it's probably going to be pitted by micro asteroids and some asteroid. I mean, it could take a direct hit from an asteroid too. You never know.
Is it still attached? I thought that it was not.
I thought they left it attached to the boost stage, but I could be wrong, and it could be by itself.
Let's see what the astronauts are talking about. Oh, look at this. This is amazing. Look, let me tell you what I saw. Thanks. Appreciate you telling me about it.
Ray system and how its rays differ in the Mare versus the Highlands. They also want the team to compare the ray systems of Glushko to Ohm.
So I mean, they're literally talking about features on the moon that have names and comparing them to things they're seeing on the other side. And
Ohm is considered a young crater.
This is considered boring.
If you've ever seen a photo of the Richat structure, it's also known as the Eye of the Sahara. It's 40 kilometers in diameter, and that could fit within Ohm's interior.
Yeah, I was definitely expecting a lot more from this broadcast.
Interested in descriptions of
I
that
was
ray
looking forward
visibility,
to it.
including the color, albedo. Remember, albedo is the brightness or the surface reflection.
How could we forget
and
mustache? Anyway, what do you think about killing this, and we'll wait till they send the pictures in the mail, and maybe we'll do something on this?
Yeah, I think that'll work out. We'll go ahead and wait till we get the good pictures, and then we can start going over those.
Yeah, I want to see high definition photographs of the dark side of the moon. Let's see what's on the other side. What does it look like? The predictions I've heard are that it's going to have a lot more craters and meteor strikes on that side. They think that side has been hit more than the interior side of it, and that they expect to see a lot more craters and terrain features on the other side.
Well, if I remember correctly, Russia did do an observation of the dark side of the moon with radar, and they did confirm that. But I'm kind of curious to see what kind of technology we're going to use, if we're going to be using LiDAR, if it's going to be some sort of a high definition video feed, then they're going to find some way to light the moon using,
Bro, it's 2026. This is NASA. I want all that. It should be scanning it with some LiDAR. And there should be some 8K definition stuff coming back from there. Zoomed in, not zoomed in, with the Earth in the background, not with the Earth in the background. We should be, I expect all of this. If that's not there, I might be kind of thinking about maybe the moon landing was in Burbank.
I'm telling you, this is the only video we've been getting here is the same picture of the moon. The only thing they seem to have done is,
I'm not even sure that's moving.
Well, it was paused. I saw it move a little bit earlier, but it almost seems if you watch the moon, it moves frame by frame. So it's a very, very low resolution picture. Even if you look at the NASA emblem, it doesn't spin fluidly. It's kind of jerky. I haven't been really impressed with what they've done so far.
They need to get with Elon. He knows how to put shit into space, and he knows how to show us how it works. I mean, you look at some of the videos coming off of that SpaceX does. They're remarkable. I know we've seen it a few times, but you're old enough to remember, man. Buck Rogers with the little firework bullshit rocket, he would land upright, right? Looking all stupid. like it's like not even a way to do it. And now Elon's doing that. We're landing rockets with their own thrust. It's crazy.
Hell, Elon's catching them with chopsticks.
You know, he catches them. I think, but anyway, but there's good video. He's got cameras on the thing where on the catcher, the chopstick thing, the tower. When it comes in, you see the rocket right there. I mean, it doesn't even look real, but it is. It looks like too incredible to believe.
And it's high definition.
Right. And now we're doing a run by the dark side of the moon. First time man's been back to the moon in 55 years or some shit.
He's using a 1985.
And I gotta listen to the guy mispronounce Oriental and tell me what he sees out the window. Hey, that's like going to the Grand Canyon, but you can't get out of the car. They call you on the phone and tell you, okay, it's really big. And the light bounces off better on this side than the other side. This is amazing. Oh, this is great. That's horrible, right?
Yeah, I'm looking to see if NASA's getting flamed on X.
You know what? Honestly, they should be. I am extremely disappointed. I thought we were going to have several hours of them passing around the dark side of the moon and see things that mankind's never laid their little peepers on. But we can't do that. But we got a Canadian up there. We could have saved the money putting the Canadian's dumbass in the space shuttle and got another camera. Oh, look, they're all pointing at something. What are they pointing at? Let's see what they said. What are they pointing at? Look, they're trying.
Maybe the top 7 degrees of the moon, and just draw a ring around that. The near side is an albedo of 5 and looks quite smooth from here.
Oh, they're having to tell them what it is. They're up there trying to look at it and try to describe. I'm disappointed. That's ridiculous.
I just posted a message to NASA that says, why do we not have live 4K or 8K video? Maybe at SpaceX can help you next time.
Shit, I'll take 1080 DP. Some pictures,
right?
Something, right?
It's 21st century. I want 8K.
This is embarrassing. Here we are. Look what we're doing on the military battlefield. Amazing things. We're doing it from space and all this other shit. And here we are. We're all bragging about going to the moon, and you can't get us a picture back of it.
Not trying to sound derogatory, but I count 15 women in that room.
Hey, we had pictures back from the moon when people were walking on it. They weren't very good, but, they showed you something.
And those are being broadcast on a carrier signal along with radio waves at the same time. Now we can do dedicated signals.
Right. This is, yeah. All right. I don't want to, anybody watching, they're probably in pain because we're not that entertaining, and neither is this broadcast. Hey, but catch us tomorrow night. We've got a special show tomorrow night. It's going to be myself, for those that know Corey on X and Frank M off of X, and myself are going to sit in and interview a gentleman, actually a doctor from Cuba. He's in Havana, Cuba right now. He sent me a little bit of media that we'll be able to show, and if his bandwidth is correct enough or wide enough, stable enough, maybe is a better way to say it, then we'll have him on live video as well. But he is a doctor. He's a surgeon that lives in Havana. We've been talking to him for a bit. He's got a remarkable story to tell, and he can give us kind of what's a man on the street feeling about what's going on in Cuba and potential for certain scenarios where the United States may intervene. But will be a very interesting conversation, and we're going to try for the first time, Big Ron, have a call in. We're going to have a call-in number for anybody that's watching. You'll be able to call in and ask our guest or ourselves or make comments to our guest or ourselves live on the air via phone call.
Well, that sounds great. Everybody needs to tune in for that.
That'll be tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. And I've got some promos out for it. I'll get some more out for you guys on X. But with that, what do you say we call it, Big Ron? We're kind of the fools on that because
I was really expecting so much more on this.
And we're worse because all we're doing is talking about what they're talking about. And when somebody else described to somebody else, we're like in the telephone game, we're like player number 5, and our audience are player number 6. That's dumb.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to stop sharing that, folks. We're going to catch us tomorrow night, and we'll see you around X, of course. So I should say this: we weren't live last Friday. We will be live with the grand jury again on Friday night with a brand new jury, brand new set of cases, and back at it again. All right, folks. Let me check one thing before we go. Yep.
An incarcerated individual's use of institutional telephones constitutes consent, and your calls may be provided to law enforcement agencies.
Thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.